As of this week, the US national debt is sitting at around $40 trillion. That's not a rounded guess. The Treasury Department can actually tell you what that number was, down to the penny, as of yesterday's close of business. So how do they know that? Who's counting? Is someone literally adding this up every day? And could they be wrong? That's what we're figuring out today. Here's the first thing that surprises people. The national debt isn't modelled, forecasted, or estimated. It's accounting. The US government doesn't have one bank account. It has debt that's actually made of individual IOUs, called Treasury securities. Every time the government spends more than it collects in taxes, it doesn't just print money to cover the gap. It borrows by selling these securities to investors. There are a few options. Treasury bills, short-term, mature in weeks to a year. Treasury notes, 2 to 10 years. Treasury bonds, 20 to 30 years. Every single one of these is logged: issuer, amount, interest rate, maturity date, in a system run by an agency you've probably never heard of. That agency is called the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. It's part of the Treasury Department, and its literal job is to track every dollar the US government owes and to whom. Every business day, they publish something called the Debt to the Penny dataset. It's public. Anyone can look it up. It shows the exact total debt as of the previous day's close. And that total is split into two buckets. Bucket 1, debt held by the public. This is money owed to outside investors, individuals, mutual funds, foreign governments, the Federal Reserve. Right now that's roughly $32 trillion. Bucket 2, intragovernmental holdings. This is money the government owes to itself. Mainly things like the Social Security and Medicare trust funds, which are required by law to invest their surpluses in special Treasury securities. That's another roughly $7.7 trillion. Add those two buckets together and you get the headline number. So where does the day-to-day movement come from? The Treasury runs auctions, regularly scheduled sales of new bills, notes and bonds, to raise cash and to refinance debt that's coming due. Every auction result gets fed straight into the Fiscal Service's accounting system. At the same time, old securities are constantly maturing and getting paid off, which reduces the balance. So the debt number each day is really yesterday's total, plus new securities issued, minus old securities that matured or were redeemed, plus or minus small accounting adjustments like premiums, discounts, and inflation adjustments on certain bonds. This is why the debt clock doesn't move smoothly. It jumps on specific days when big auctions settle, and it can even tick down slightly on days when more matures than gets issued. Naturally, can this number be fudged? Not really, and here's why. This isn't a survey or a projection where assumptions can shift the output. Every bond is a contract. It has a CUSIP number, a face value, a legal holder of record. It's tracked the same way a bank tracks the balance on a loan. It's independently auditable, and outside groups, the Congressional Budget Office, the Government Accountability Office, private economists, cross-check the Treasury's own numbers constantly. If the figures didn't match reality, it would show up immediately in bond markets, because investors literally hold the paper. Where debates do happen isn't over the raw number, it's over what it means. Some economists argue intragovernmental debt shouldn't be counted the same as public debt, since the government essentially owes it to itself. Others say total gross debt is the honest measure because those trust fund obligations are still real, legally binding promises. That's a framing debate, not a bookkeeping error. And the best part, you don't have to take my word, or anyone's word, for this. The Treasury publishes it in raw form at fiscaldata.treasury.gov under the Debt to the Penny dataset. It updates every business day, it's downloadable, and it's the same source every debt clock website and every economist ultimately pulls from. So next time you see a debt clock ticking up in real time, know that the number behind it isn't a vibe. It's one of the most rigorously tracked figures in the entire US government.